Okay, so we're back and we have the airframe together. So I think you should be able to see that we've got quite nice upper and lower wing joints. We've got the nose cone on, and we've got the tail fins on. So the next item on the agenda to put in is the rear upper turret. Now I have already taken the time to paint the turret, and obviously we've painted the inside, although you're not actually going to see much of that. Now the turret does go up from the inside, and what we need to do is make sure we know which way round the insert goes, and that's purely because we want the guns to point to the rear. So once we know which way the rear is, then we know exactly how they're going to fit in. Now dry fitting this in was a good fit, and I think you can see there it's just still a good fit even after all the gluing, which is fine. Now, what I might do is just do a little bit of sand in here. Be careful, let the sander do the work. And that's purely because we just want to minimize the seam closest to the insert, so we don't have to do any sanding that's going to affect it. Okay, let's get a quick rub up with a sponge. Not bad. There is a little a step there on that joint, but it's nothing deadly. Right, so just final check. Pops in. It's a good fit. Yep. Okay, and we know this is the back here. So guns up and in, and sorry. So guns up and in, and then a little bit of glue. Front and back. Okay, that's going nowhere. Make sure the guns are central. In fact, they're going to drop down because it's not bonded yet. And this is the thing, we want to make sure this is properly glued together, because we don't want this to drop down inside the aircraft. So just give me 1 minute. I'm going to use a little bit of contactor just out of camera. Just to increase the glue viscosity, increase the ability to grip. There we go. That's far better. So guns point to the rear, nicely down the middle. I'm just going to put some quick set just to help cure up the glue. And then we'll get the insert in. Okay, so bear with me whilst that glue dries up, and then we'll get the insert in. Okay, just before we fit it, I haven't painted the guns yet, but I'm going to do that whilst we get it in together. Just to show you, canopy just fits on and drops down in like that. That's actually a really good fit. So what we probably can do is add the canopy once we've finished painting the whole airframe, depending on how much we need to paint that canopy. But now that we've got the turret in, we can now offer it up, and it is just a beautiful fit. And with a quick set, run along the seams. There we go. Now, just going to give it a gentle push, but nothing more. And that's purely because we don't want to bead any glue up. We want to maintain the joints as they are because they're in keeping with the rest of the panel lines. Perfect. And we also don't want to push the gun down out of the top because there's no going back now. It is well and truly bonded together. So just lift up on it to make sure it's in. It is. And there we go. Right, so that is the airframe together. And it's not taken us just a huge amount of time to get to this point. What I'm going to do now is we need to let this cure, completely cure. So we want the wing roots cured. We want all the seams cured before we think about tidying them up and sanding them. We don't want to go in there too soon because we'll end up with a ghost seam coming back through the paint. So we're just going to let it cure up completely. So for the next installment, we're going to look at getting these cleaned up, getting it wiped over, and then we can start thinking about, we're going to mask up the canopy, which I have to say is a really nice fit. It just sits lovely down onto the fuselage. Shouldn't take too much to get that blended in. We've looked at the gun turret glazing, and then we've got the lower gun turret here. Well, it's not really a turret, the lower gun bay, and that actually goes on quite nicely too. It's a nice snug fit in there. But all in all, what a fantastic aircraft, what a fantastic model. Very, very happy indeed. So, as I say, next time, seams and primer going into paint. Catch you later. Cheers. Right, we're back. And as you can see, I have been pushing on a little bit, which is what I said I was going to do. So, hold on, my microphone's fallen over. Right, so the aircraft, as you can see, went together beautifully. We've got the clear parts on, they went on lovely. I've got the turret in, but I'm going to leave the clear part off because it doesn't actually get painted, it just goes on as it is. So we'll put it on last. We flip it over. We've got the rear gunner's position in. Now, I did mask it up on further reference checking. These two windows that I had masked up are actually blended into the fuselage. They're not windows, so I've unmasked them, and we're going to give this a quick paint of the interior green. But as you can see, the bomb bays are fine, and the front glass is on as well. So there we go. This is going to be the American Pacific Theatre aircraft, and I have to say it really has gone together really, really well. I've had no trouble at all. Quite a pleasure to build. So much so that, if we set that one to the side at the moment, I bit the bullet, picked up Oh, another one. So this is the Mark II Ventura, or in RAF service is the Boston bomber. So we've got a different turret on the back, and we've got a different nose section. You'll notice it's green because it's clear. It was made of clear plastic. So we've been in, and I've been in. We've masked up all the windows, painted the interior green. I masked the interior, painted it, and then painted the outside, so it's wholly green. It's the same canopy, same starlight dome. We've got the side windows, although, oh god, so infuriating, I've lost the window, so we'll have to do a PVA glue trick. And then we've got the under window on that. Now this build went together just as well, except I've had a little bit of problem here. I didn't obviously get enough glue on this seam here, and it cracked as I was doing the final polishing, so I've re-glued it with some Revell contactor and Mr. Hobby S cement, and we're going to let that harden up before I polish it and we go into paint. So that being said, this aircraft here is going to be painted the dark earth green and sky underside of an early war coastal command aircraft, which I'm really chuffed at. Now, having done a little bit of research, this kit is incorrect. If it was a correct kit, it would have a set of windows right down the side. It doesn't. However, I'm not overly fussed. It looks like it's going to look like a Boston once it's painted and decaled. That's good enough for me. The turret, it looks really awkward and bulbous. If you look at reference photos of real aircraft, the turret actually did look this cumbersome and bulbous. It's very big, and it almost looks oversized for the aircraft, but in real life the turret did kind of look a little oversized. So I think they've captured the essence of the aircraft, but I am really excited to get this kit. There's not just too many of the Bostons or the Mark II Venturas on the internet, so I was glad to snap it up. Okay, so I have primed, and I've primed both aircraft. So on the bench we've got the Mark II, which I'm going to paint second, and then here above is the actual Ventura. So that's the US Pacific version. So we'll move the British one out of the way for now. There we go. Right, so as you can see, there's areas here that I'm going to have to touch up, but that's easily done. We've primed the underside, so we've still got predominantly green in the wheel wells, and you can see I've masked up the engines to protect them. I'm going to start with the underside first. So not only do we have the underside, we've got the underwing fuel tanks and the bomb bay doors and the wheel well doors, and of course we've got the tail wheel doors here, and if I'm not mistaken, okay, so they're calling out paint A for the undercarriage, and in the instructions paint A is aluminium, so that's fine. The undercarriage is not white, so they can be moved to one side. So colours, well, for the insignia white, I've made up my own insignia white from Tamiya X2 with some buff in it, and this is the same insignia white that I used to paint on the Navy Sky Raider I did. Then Tamiya call out colours is medium blue XF18 and dark sea blue XF17, so that's the colours we're painting the airframe in. And then to touch up the wheel wells and such like that, then it's just Mr. Hobby Aqueous colour interior green, US Army World War II aircraft. So airbrushes for this paint job, or for both aircraft, I am going to be using the Gaahleri Mobius 0.2 airbrush. This is one you've not seen in many of my builds, but I have been testing it for a little while, and we'll discuss that through the paint job and at the end of it. But yeah, nice airbrush. So I've already given the paint a good stir, and it is already pre-thinned, so we don't need to worry about any of that. And we're going to do a very similar approach to the painting as we did for the Sky Raider, in that we're going to marble the finish and then put a top coat over, because we want to get a bit of contrast in the paint.